Yeah, so Orphan First Kill came out. What can we learn from it? I think in these videos, I just have to say right off the bat, I don't think filmmaking or storytelling in general is this sort of exclusionary, only certain people get it kind of thing. I think of it more like language. You expose yourself to it, you immerse yourself in it, and you're constantly becoming more fluent. And so you're always working on your fluency, if that makes sense. But that's just me. That's what I think. So let's talk about Orphan First Kill. Let's first of all, I try to want to build a look, so I put some diffusion in my matte box to really blur up the image because they really went for it. So let's pop on the diffusion filters. That poor focus puller had to pull through all this blurry glass. That must have been a chore. Let's do a color grade. Let's see how we do with the color grade. How close did I get? Anyway, so Orphan First Kill is the prequel to Orphan, which came out about a decade ago. It's a horror film, and it was one of those based on a true story but not really movies. And in Orphan, it had Vera Farmiga as the mom, which is hilarious to me because she was also the mom / the main character in The Conjuring, which was another much more successful, based on a true story. And it is what it is. The idea of the Orphan is the true story of it all is some this Czech woman, 33 years old, pretended to be a child to get adopted and then sort of terrorize the family as they slowly figured out she was probably not 12 and in fact 33. And the filmmakers of The Orphan basically did that, and then just a much more extreme version where I think she's a killer or something. I don't really remember. But that's the movie. So they hired this actress in the original Orphan who I think she was like 14 or 15 at the time, playing like a 12-year-old. That's Hollywood. That's kind of how it goes. So, but it was interesting psychology because it was like a 14-year-old playing a 33-year-old pretending to be a 12-year-old. But because she looked so young, she looked like a child, I bought it. I think it worked. I think the whole premise kind of worked because she looked so young. And then Orphan First Kill came out, and it's a prequel that's supposed to take place before those events and sort of what happened, when she was in Eastern Europe and then came to America and then everything up until getting adopted by Vera Farmiga's family. But they used the same actress as before, and it's been a decade. And so she was 14, 15 when the movie happened the first time, and now she's in her mid-20s. And she looks like she's in her mid-20s. I don't know how else to say it. The first time I kind of bought it because it was a child looking like a child. This grown adult pretending to be 33, pretending to be, 12, does not look like a child to me. I just don't see how you can get around that. But I don't know, suspension of disbelief. Maybe it's even more truthful because based on my research into the actual based on true events story, she didn't really pass that well as a child. So maybe it actually is more accurate this time that she doesn't look so much like a child. But I don't know. I just found it so weird that they would take the young girl who's obviously aged now, so you can actually choose. It's the only time in history you can actually compare young playing young versus old playing young. It's just a weird choice for me, I thought. Anyway, I don't really want to get into the plot of the movie at all, other than to say it's Orphan, so you kind of know what you're going to get. There's an interesting twist, but I'm not going to spoil it. What I want to talk about actually is the cinematography, because I think more than anything else in this movie, they did something interesting with the cinematography. So let me just get into that. I'm a big believer for cinematography, just like sound. It's at its best when you don't notice it, when it doesn't call attention to itself, when it's just kind of doing its thing, immersing you in the story. The counterpoint to that is obviously the show EUPHORIA, which is just bonkers. Bonkers about everything, not just the cinematography, but also, everything else, the lighting, the makeup, the costumes, the blocking of the characters, the whole thing is bonkers, but part of that is the cinematography. And what's crazy is I think what EUPHORIA does so well in the cinematography, this movie, The Orphan prequel, First Kill, I keep forgetting the second part of that sentence, I think they do quite well for the same reasons. And that in EUPHORIA, the camera matches the psychology of the character you're following. And so it's just an interesting trick because normally traditional cinematography, traditional coverage, you just capture it, but if you want to sort of step up your game, and then obviously EUPHORIA is the most extreme version, if the camera matches the psychology of the character, if the character is really depressed, all of a sudden the camera is very slow moving, very, very patient, it's very dark, it's very lit dark. If the character is doing drugs, as you do on EUPHORIA, it's going to be wild. It's going to be drug fueled. It's going to be visually stunning. All this kind of stuff, that kind of thing. If the character's disoriented, that's when you go your Dutch angles, your crazy angles, all that kind of stuff. So Yeah, it's a way to enhance the storytelling and really bring you as an audience member closer to the characters through how the camera works. And weirdly, Orphan First Kill does this. It's a lot more subtle. It's not quite as in your face. I think, whereas Euphoria very much calls attention to itself, I don't really think Orphan First Kill does that. And it's mirrors. It's a game of mirrors. It's in almost every scene or sequence or whatever, you're gonna see mirrors. You're gonna see a mirror or a pool of water or a shiny floor or the extremely polished reflection coming off of the piano, if you can believe that. And it's almost always the reflection of the orphan, the girl, Esther. And so I took it as sort of like a visual metaphor, as she's in real life, the real non-reflection person, that's who she's portraying. That's this little girl that she's replacing in the story, that she's pretending to be. And then the reflection is who she really wants to be. And so they're always at odds because she can't really get out of being this little girl. Otherwise, the jig is up. But she's compelled to reveal herself because she wants to have a regular life, not just the life of this little girl. So I thought it was super interesting. I thought it was crazy. And, they even did the sort of infinity mirror thing where you look into a mirror, into a mirror, into a mirror, and sure. But what's crazy about that is they didn't do the film school cliche that if you've seen any film from a film school ever, you're going to see this, and it's the person looking in the mirror. It's that, brushing their teeth in the mirror or talking to themselves in the mirror, getting ready in the mirror, that thing. It's the ultimate film school cliche. It goes in there with the hitting the alarm clock and like getting ready or like making a meal thing. Like every student film ever has done that. And then you grow up as a filmmaker and you realize that's a cliche for a reason. Yes, Raging Bull has the man in the mirror thing, but then, the world moves on. Like you can't keep doing that. You gotta keep doing new things. So yes, and this movie didn't do that. This movie actually did some really interesting stuff with perspective and mirrors, and sometimes it's looking through the glass but also back at the person. Is wild. It was really interesting. So that's what I got. I think this movie, the takeaway is the cinematography and the psychology of the cinematography, and the fact that they had the presence of mind to put these weird, normally a problem reflections in the story to sort of enhance the sort of disorientation and or the emotional state of this character. Good job. So, but that's what I think. I mean, what do you guys think? Did I just add on meaning to something that did not have meaning? What did you think of this movie compared to the first movie? Does the little girl who's now mid-20s play young the way she did young last time? Like, how do you guys feel about that? So yeah, just let me know. See you next time.